Uh, we are here today to mourn the loss of what is the Los Angeles Rams season. I am Tuna, and joining me shortly here is the Sheriff. We are here for another week, as we promised, win or loss, whether the season was ending or not. Tuna and the Sheriff would be here for episode 3. How are you doing, Sheriff?
I've been better, but I will say that having watched this squad play in a divisional game, I'm better than I was leaving the stadium against the Packers at 1-4. So suppose there's that, man. How are you doing?
That's a Oh man, that's a great retrospective actually. That's the game where we were both actually at and we hung out was the
Yep.
Packers game, and everyone talks about how this team went from 1-4 to being in the dance. One, making the playoffs is phenomenal.
Hmm.
The game in Arizona, what is gonna like it's burnt. It's gonna be burned in my memory forever. And then, yeah, I'm sure we'll dive into it. But being a minute and a half or so away from potentially winning in the snow in Philly, which was a great game. Like regardless of the outcome, super fun game to watch. I don't know how you feel that last drive, even during the Puka throw, like cemented it a little bit more. But even before then, I was like, oh yeah,
Hmm.
we're gonna win. Like it's Matthew Stafford. You gave him too much time. He's in his bag right now. He's gonna go win this game for us.
Dude, it really
Uh,
did feel 1000% like we were just gonna on that final drive, like we were definitely gonna go score. And Stafford was on, man, all day. That was what probably his best game of the season. He was just absolutely on, man. And to consider the weather in that too, I mean, it's unbelievable, man. He played so well that like anybody who's like, oh no, we should probably start looking for somebody else, and it's like, no, his most recent game was incredible. So no, you can blatantly still do it. So
they do not make quarterbacks like a Matthew Stafford anymore. The
mhm,
new generation of quarterbacks, super fun, love them. Lamar Jackson, Mahomes,
yeah,
Josh Allen, but the the days of the gunslinger of my youth, the actual like Peyton Manning, the sheriff, Brett Favre, uh, guys like that, they just don't make them like that anymore. And he showed that on full display. Like, hey, give me a pocket and I will dice anybody up in any weather. I'm not ready for the offseason narratives.
I
I'm not
know,
ready for it.
man.
It sounds so
Especially
exhausting.
especially the ones that have already popped up of like Kelly Stafford kind of talking about like, oh, I don't know if this is the end. I guess we'll see. And then the stuff on Cup and like it's like people reporting like, hey, it really does look like he's talking like he may have just played his last game as a Ram and like stuff like that. And then you got a bunch of the free agents that have been huge this year that are put guys who maybe don't come back. Akello, Bobby
Yeah.
Brown, Christian Roseboom, like Demarcus Robinson. Like there's so many names of guys that now we turn our focus on like this game that we had where it was like we were right there in the situation where I mean I kind of go all the way back to that game Rams Packers. Leaving that stadium at 1-4. If you would have told me at that moment that hey, you're going to have a shot in the snow in the divisional round in Philly to end the game. You're at least going to have a chance. Is that cool? I'll say, yeah, 1,000 times to that. So, um, I don't know, man. It sucks to go on that though. We're like in that range of just like, oh man, we just need like 14 yards here. We're gonna be okay. And now
Uh,
it's like, oh man, did we just watch Cup play for the last time for our team? Like it happens fast, man. I wasn't ready for it.
but yeah, but before we officially dive into it, and I still got to do I've put off doing my like game review just because it's like kind of I guess I'm still in the denial stage. I'm still
Yeah,
waiting for a flag on that last throw.
yeah,
Um, Waiting for a text like, oh, actually, teams are coming back to Philly. They're gonna replay that
yeah. It's like,
now.
oh, it was actually holding on that play on defensive holding, so that's actually Rams
uh,
won. So
oh yeah, our bad guys, our bad. Game's that
yeah,
over.
yeah.
I gotta say like the before we dive into narratives and stuff, like you got to look at the playoffs. Like
Mhm.
nothing in regular season matters, and it proved that because the defense looked like a new model of the '85 Bears. 15 sacks in 2 playoff games is
Yeah.
ridiculous. Even though we gave up 4 sacks, that not great either, but sacking someone like Jalen Hurts, getting a safety, like they kept that game alive. That team scratched and clawed with the second youngest team in the league. Were able to come back down 2 scores and have a shot to win the game.
Mhm.
I mean, you got to give hats off to them. There's a lot that Rams fans can be super excited about. You know, regardless of the Cup, Stafford stuff, there's a lot that is like, hey, you want to go to games the next 5 years just based
Oh,
on
yeah.
Jared Verse, Byron Young, whoever else is going to be in that secondary.
Mhm.
It's a very, very young base. But unfortunately, how it ends is the way I always look at it is the playoffs, even though regular season doesn't matter, whatever your strengths and weaknesses are going to be amplified.
Mhm.
And one of those sore spots was the offensive line patchwork. Case be it, Bo Limmer is a rookie, has played out of his mind, but then that sack on that last drive is just from a miscommunication, a missed technique, gets juked out by Jalen Carter, gives up a crucial sack. I'm not sure if you had anything to say about things you're excited about before we dive into like the not great stuff.
Well, I mean, yeah, you're right. The defense, man. I was fully convinced, like I'm sure most of us were, that the front was going to be more of the issue, not the strength, and that the back end, secondary players, because we had so much talent there, that was going to be the strength. And I think ultimately, what I'm pumped for is the fact that this front four, these pass rushers, can be in place for the next 4 or 5 years if we want them to. We can afford it, and we can keep these guys around. These guys can be around for a while. If we can't even afford them, we still got these guys to get 3 years. So that's incredible. So I'll take that at the very minimum. But I think ultimately, I'm excited because that defense has shown a lot. It seems like Chris Shula is probably going to be returning. He's probably not going to get a job somewhere, so that's good news. We obviously, if Cup is leaving, we still got a Puka. If I feel like Havy comes back, I like this offensive line. You got to pay some guys, but I think there's a lot to be excited about actually. And as long as Sean McVay is our coach, I think that we at least are doing okay. In his time with us, we've been to the championship game 25% of the time, in the playoffs 75% of the time since he's been here. So I think we're doing okay. So lots to be excited about.
Yeah, I look at the as long as we're doing a little bit better than the Steelers on average, I put it that way, because the Steelers are always, they get in, but it's like you're not good enough to go do anything. As long as we're above that bar, I'm happy. I'm curious. I think the only frustration I really had during that game was I know everyone's already talking about Kyron Williams and the run game, and that's something that they want upgraded in the offseason. But my frustration was there wasn't a consistent run game in that game. And you see this a lot too, where even when it's a passing down, they run a play action. And it frustrates me because then when you abandon that and you just let Stafford go gunslinger mode, there's a lot of success. Like whether it's a faster tempo, no huddle, just 4 wide, line up in shotgun and dice them up. They move the ball down the field. It's like, why don't you just do this earlier? Am I crazy for thinking that at all?
No, you're absolutely right. Like seeing like a 3rd and 9 play action is like, hey, no one's biting on that. Like, like
God,
like what is the point, man? It's like I realize that we are a team that may run the ball there, but like they're not going to bite on it, because even if we do run it, they've got 9 yards to try to wrangle them. So
they're with that. Like, you're right. That was my one frustration. I just everything else was great. I was so proud of the team, but except
man, that's exactly it. Proud, I think, is exactly the word. I've seen that so many times. Players, coaches, fans, everybody talking about that. But I'm with that, man. And I kind of go back to that comment that I had of like, I was at that game. We were both at that game, 1-4. We left that at SoFi Stadium against the Packers at 1-4, and it was really one of those of like, man, like this is a bummer. Like I know we're beat up and we're better than this and stuff, but this sucks, man. So to turn it around. But my question for you, man, is like I don't know if we're trying to put the season fully in the past yet, but where do you think we need to improve the most, man, heading into the off season?
I want just a another speedy, like game breaking down the field wide receiver. And it's not a slight on anybody on the roster right now. I love what D-Rob does. If somebody can give what D-Rob does, but 4, 5, 6 more times during the game, because it seemed very rare that we were really airing it out. Like anytime there was a deep pass, I was like, "Oh shit, what are we doing?" I liked some firepower upgraded either there. Somebody who's a bigger threat at tight end would be cool. But I think the number one that I don't agree with the narrative that Kyron is bad. Clearly, he's not a bad running back. But I think having him just do it on his own, I would love a scenario where we had like as if we were Detroit, where Kyron Williams could be like our David Montgomery, and we get some like a Jahmyr Gibbs type guy. I'm not lying. Like I know 0 running backs in the draft. I have not even touched a draft class yet. But just to have a potential threat for those McVay play actions on 3rd and 9, where it's like you got to respect it even for a millisecond because this guy could take off for 80 yards. Yeah. That would be a fantastic wrinkle to this offense. That's what I would like to see as a speedy running back. What about you?
Well, to kind of comment on that, I do think that in this game specifically against the Eagles, I think we were missing Corum. Anytime we needed Kyron to come out, Rivers just didn't look like he could be the guy. I like Rivers a lot, but he just wasn't that guy. So Corum, we were missing a lot. But for me, I like Darius Williams and I like Akella Witherspoon, but I think we can get a lot better on the outside. These guys are good. But I want to see like a top tier corner there. These guys are just good. That's it, man. I've got nothing bad to say about Akello or D Will, but to say that we can't dramatically
played their asses off.
Yeah, they absolutely did. But to say that we can't dramatically improve on the outside, I think would be an understatement. I think we can get a lot better on the outside. Those guys played okay most of the year. Had some big plays, great tacklers, both of them, but I think that ultimately, as I'm doing like my rewatches and watching their games like that, just too many times where they were out of position or just kind of not playing the ball well. Balls zipping right past their ears and they're not, making a play on it, stuff like that. I just saw it too many times. I'm missing a Jalen Ramsey out there, a guy that you're like, okay, well, that guy's not going to make a play all day because he's on them kind of thing. We just don't have that right now. So I want to get better on the outside.
That's a great point. That reminds me of something like I always think about during the season that I already had forgotten, short-term memory, is there's so many guys on this team that are very good, great role players. But sometimes like every NFL game is literally can be swung by 1 or 2 plays.
Yeah.
And having just good players isn't good enough. You do need one game breaker where even if everybody else fucked up their job, if one guy does like just leaves his fingerprints on the game, then all of a sudden, like Aaron Donald.
Yep.
Like everyone else could miss their coverage, but he's getting a sack in 1 second, so it doesn't matter. A la Jared Verse. If you have that corner, you're absolutely right. Where it doesn't matter if he got beat, if the play call tricked him and the rest of the defense, he's either got the speed or the playmaking ability. Like, oh, now that's an interception. Now we're winning by 3 points rather than losing by 4. Like it's a complete swing.
I think of a Jalen Ramsey too, man, where like Jalen on I'm trying to remember the opponent right now, but it's like he's covering a guy who's on a go, but then a guy on a crosser is not being kept up by whoever's covering him. I think it's a safety on the other side, is not keeping up with him. So the ball's going underneath. Jalen breaks off of his guy as soon as the quarterback's in his motion and goes and picks off the ball. On a guy he's not even covering kind of thing. And it's like, we don't have anybody who's capable of that right now. And I want to see it in the secondary. We've got a bunch of guys up front who are absolute monsters, but I just feel like we don't have anybody in the secondary right now that can just make those plays that you're like, holy crap, man. Like John Johnson was that guy before he got hurt. He was making some plays this year where you're like, man, this guy's all over the place. But yeah, D Will and Akello, I really like those guys, and I'm not going to be mad if they stick around, but I just think they do a good job, but they don't do those crazy things. What was that?
No, I was agreeing with you. Like, I hope they stick around, honestly. I don't want to see a single person leave, even down to, if you want to say, quote unquote, whatever PFF says our weakest position is, like inside linebacker. I think Roseboom played great on the back half of the season.
Yeah.
Is he going to be like a top 10, Pro Bowl type guy? Maybe not. Maybe he's reached his ceiling. Who knows? But he's done enough where it showed he can play in this defense pretty well. But I think part of that is the defense is so young, and there's a lot of guys, like you said, that are like pretty good that they were never able to like really force other offenses to do anything. It seemed like they were very reactionary because of youth and because of getting used to each other. I think we're set at safety though. With if JJ comes back, Quentin Lake obviously grew into his role as a captain. Cam Kinchins, I'm excited to see what he can develop into next season as well. See what work he can.
We're almost too loaded at safety, man. When you think of like Curl, Kinchins, McCullough,
and
Johnson,
Curl,
we got a lot of guys there, man. Lake and stuff, like a lot of players there.
Man, all I gotta say is like I think my wish list for free agent or re-signings is just get a new deal done for Quentin. I want to see my boy get paid. I know he's still in a contract, but just get him paid, lock him up. I want Bobby Brown back.
Same.
Super Bowl champion Bobby Brown.
Absolutely. I want to see him. I want to see Roseboom. There's a few names. Jackson, Alaric Jackson. Definitely want to see him back. I know a lot of people are kind of indifferent on him. I've seen people bounce around names like, oh, let's get rid of him and get like Cam Robinson. And it's like, well, let's not. Like, we know Jackson's good with us. Cam Robinson did okay in Minnesota, I guess. But like, why would we downgrade there on purpose? Like, why would we just knowingly downgrade?
Yeah, through the was it 15 games he played because he had that 2-week suspension. Through the 15 games, not once did I ever sit here like, oh man, I can't believe Jackson's starting at left tackle. No, I didn't hear his name once, which is what you want as an offensive line. You don't want your name called. So
and it feels like when we got our guys back outside of this game, where you mentioned that those that like late Limmer play, that like we just didn't really hear about these guys a lot, which was really nice. But and then we also did see on that same one because. And I don't know if you've actually like dove in and looked at that stuff, but I'm seeing some screenshots and stuff, and I haven't had a chance to even watch the game again yet. But where a lot of people are saying that actually wasn't Limmer's assignment; it was Dotson's, and he missed it.
I think on the initial, I didn't rewatch it. I just saw like I think 1 or 2 Instagram posts and scrolling, and I went quickly because I was like, I'm not ready. It looked like he crossed Limmer's face away from Dotson. Yeah, because he left Dotson. He was lined up over Dotson or in the gap and then crossed Limmer's face. So he stepped and took the bait and then he shot the gap. So you can argue either one. But I feel like because he crossed Limmer's face, he got him there. But I don't know.
I'm curious. Well, like obviously first before we like talk about who we're gonna add in and stuff like that, we do got to see who we keep around. There's one guy that I've been hammering it all year of a prediction of a guy I don't think returns, but not necessarily a guy I don't want to return. Just a guy I just think that we let walk, and that's Tutu Atwell. He's not under contract. I don't dislike the guy, but his production, and this is my whole point on it, his production, his 40 receptions, it's replaceable. We don't need him back.
It's really interesting how they use their lineups. I don't get it because Tutu Atwell, he clearly has like skill set, super fucking fast, and everyone brings up like his catch rate and his win rate versus like on deep balls, but just doesn't get used. I don't know if that's an inability on McVay's end to find a way to use them, which is possible, or if there's something going on there, which kind of bleeds into my next topic. So I won't leave Tutu yet, but you'll see where I'm going. I don't know what's going on with the wide receiver room. But it just seemed like at times, even after everyone came back, like the pass game was just kind of off.
Yeah.
And I tried figuring out a few weeks ago of like, okay, why isn't Cup being thrown to on this check down when he's open? It just seems like that trust between him and Stafford just wasn't automatic, or he was forcing stuff to other guys. I don't know, between the Tutu stuff and then now everything with Cup. Is he not coming back type thing? And the trade rumors earlier, it's like, is there something weird going on there? Is there drama? But obviously we'll never hear about it because that's how the Rams organization is. Like, you have any thoughts towards that, or am I just like seeing shit?
I don't know, man. I mean, as far as the drama aspect goes, I mean, that kind of stuff, like you're right, we would never know. We never even found out what happened with Ernest Jones.
I know.
and it was blatantly something. Like it wasn't nothing. We don't do that after
Yeah.
the preseason. Trade your captain away after preseason because nothing happened, and you're just like, yeah, I think we'll be all right. We have a surplus at this position, so we're just going to go ahead and help out the Titans. That's not the mindset. So, yeah, man, I don't know. I don't know if there really is something, but you're right. I mean, obviously there was moments there, and I'm thinking specifically of a pass to Cup where it was like kind of behind him, almost picked off, and he just kind of like got a hand on it to stop it from being intercepted. And it's like, what are we doing? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems at times like you can tell he's still not 100% healthy, which I get that.
Mhm.
But there's times where he's like, you would expect Stafford to force a throw like
Mhm.
safely to him, and he just wouldn't take it. And with all this like stuff, usually where there's smoke, there's fire. With all the trade stuff that happened earlier, I know they were accepting calls. I don't know if that rubbed them the wrong way or it was a result of something else happening earlier. And then you got to expect like as much as we love the work ethic of Cooper Cup and stuff, a lot of these guys still have pride. Whether that's an ego or not, no, it's still pride. Like, hey, I should be number one. And then you're getting outshone by someone like Puka Nakua, younger guy, younger bull. No, I don't know. I'm probably just making shit up at this point, but it concerns me. It makes me worried. Like the fact that right after the game, he's talking about, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. Like
Immediately.
Thanks. That sucks.
Yeah, immediately after the game. Didn't even give us a moment there to kind of him just be like, yeah, but I'm excited to get to work. We feel good and stuff like that. And like, dude, too, I think I was thinking about this yesterday. One of my most frustrating things about the season ending the way that it did and the timing that it did is we ended the season essentially healthy, and that sucks.
Yeah. I mean, good for them. Good for them.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, that's cool. Yeah. Obviously, everybody gets to go enjoy their off season and stuff like that. But it's like we left a 19-game season way healthier than we entered it. That's crazy to me.
I just lost my earbud.
Oh.
Yeah, it's. Yeah, I think it was his last comment, and then I'll put this one to bed for the day. It was his last comment. It was after he was like kind of like not giving answers about his status on the team and this and that. He's like, they're like, are you playing next year? He's like, oh yeah, of course I'm playing. Like he said that super easy. He's like, yeah, of course I'm playing next year. And in comparison to how non-committal he was before, I'm like, all right, is writing on the wall where this is going to be a whole talking point for 3 months? Like this is fun.
Probably, but I mean, at the same time, this is kind of something that kind of echoes things I used to say years ago. Because I kind of fall in love with certain Rams teams, like over the course of the year, you start to, you're watching these guys every week and stuff like that. And I kind of developed that over the time. I'm sure most of us do. And like 1-4, you're like, oh, maybe this is going to be somewhat forgettable. Who knows, kind of thing. Like obviously we're still here the whole season and stuff like that. But like maybe there's a lot of this we don't really talk about much, but then it changes and everything, it becomes really awesome and stuff like that. But things I used to talk about in the past when it was like, man, I really like this team. I want everybody back, kind of like how you had mentioned and stuff like that. And it's like, well, slice it however you want to. We still lost in the divisional round. We got to get better if we want to, keep on playing we want to play into February. So we got to get better. So Cup in his production was definitely down. I'm not saying in any capacity I want him to leave because I don't. I would love him to just play for the Rams, end his career with the Rams, but also be better for the Rams, like be the Cooper Cup that we remembered. Because too many games like this, too many times seeing no receptions or just 2 receptions for however many yards, stuff like that. Eventually, fans, I know fans, we all fans. Eventually, it's going to happen where people forget that he was a Triple Crown winner. People forget that he, was this guy and did all this stuff and Nine and Dime and all these guys and stuff. And then eventually, you're just like, oh, this guy, he's just whatever. And I don't want to get to that point either, but I guess that's kind of my point. Is like, hey, we weren't good enough, and Cooper Cup's production did drop a lot. So, like, to try to take it from like that whole mindset of just like, being strict and taking emotion out of it, of like, I mean, if we're just talking football, we're just talking X's and O's. It probably is time to move on and get somebody else in that role.
Yeah, taking the family aspect out of it, like I think if I had to make one bold prediction, is probably Cooper Kupp's probably not on this team next season.
Yeah,
I
I'm
feel
with
like
that. Yeah.
I feel like I don't want that, but it
Yeah.
feels that way. It's like got a weird icky feeling that I'm uncomfortable with. And if I had to make another add more fire to it, because I'm very superstitious, like just like the fact I'm 0-3 going to SoFi this season. Like if the game came to SoFi this week, I was not gonna go.
Nice.
Like
Yeah.
I was nope. Even if someone gave me I was like, nope, not going. Not even. I'm not touching that with a mile stick. The fact that I have a Cooper Kupp jersey, it seems like everyone's jersey that I own, something they get injured or they leave.
Yeah.
It happens. So that's my superstition, because I have a Cooper Kupp jersey. He's probably not going to be here. So,
Hey, you never know, man. Never know. That's man.
Yeah. Is there let's end on a good note. I think we got all the nasty ickies out of the way.
Yes.
Whether it's realistic or not, free agency or draft, is there anyone that you're like, it may sound unrealistic, but we've seen the Rams do nonsensical trades for big names before, like whether it's in the draft or whether that's in free agency or trades. Is there any names that pop out that you're like, I would love this guy, whether it makes sense or not, that you just want him for some reason? You got any favorites that you're going to talk about this offseason?
Well, there's one name that, because I haven't really dove into like who other teams' free agents are and stuff like that. Like I have not got. I was fully prepared. Like literally, like going into Sunday, I was like, it doesn't matter. I've got another game preview this weekend anyway. So like literally, like I was. I felt so good about this Eagles game, man. But so I wasn't preparing for it. But I'll say the name that is getting bounced around already for trades. It would be expensive, and the injuries have been there. But give me Jair Alexander. I think that would be an interesting addition on the outside. The Packers kind of seem like they're willing to move off of him. His cap hit is pretty decent, and they eat a lot of money to cut or trade him this year. So I'm not even sure if that's a real possibility. But I do, like I said, and I'm pretty adamant about that. I do want to get better on the outside. I don't think that D. Will and Akello need to be our starters going into next year. I really am adamant we need to get better out there. And Alexander is a good player.
And he does have a little bit of Jalen Ramsey in him he's a big shit talker, and seems to be ending similarly to Jacksonville, where he's like, are you good to go? Nah, I'm hurt. I don't want to tell you I'm hurt.
Yeah.
He may not be actually hurt.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. I have a 1A and 1B, and it's draft related. Since I was talking about running backs earlier, the one that's super unrealistic, but if there's like, hey, go trade up and get a guy just because, Ashton Genty.
Yeah.
Just because.
Yeah, that's fair.
Think how fun this offense would be.
Oh yeah.
With Ashton Genty.
Yeah.
My 1B, just because of the Sac State. I went to Sacramento State. Cam Scatterbo. I don't think he's.
Oh.
Yeah, like doesn't have that breakaway speed. I'm not. Is my camera messing up? Same.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
Sorry. Yeah, Cam Scatterbo. Like him. Imagine Kyron Williams, but now adding 2 truck sticks on every run. He is like not a nice person the way he runs.
Dude, I'm for it, man. I'd be fired up about that. Well, one quick note on Kyron, but everybody wants to complain about his fumbles and stuff like that. He had 5 this year. Eric Dickerson's 2105 season, he had 14. Can we relax on the fumbles? It's
How did I not know that? He had 14 fumbles.
Yeah, in his 2105 year, the year that everybody talks about is like the greatest running back year of all time. 14 fumbles. Cam has over 100 yards and gets a ball punched out in the snow, and we're like, cut this clown. But like, come on, man. Like,
yeah, it's tough. It's tough when I don't know. Yeah, I don't know I think the conversation. It's the what have you done for me lately type nonsense from
I
people who don't
understand too
really watch film.
the timing of his fumbles are always real rough.
Yeah, it seems like he's always trying to do like a little bit too much. I'm
It's
not sure if is it a ball placement, ball security thing?
I
Like,
don't know, man,
I
but it
don't.
always feels like we have the ball, we're down by 4. There's like 4 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. We just need to go down and score, and he drops it. Like that's what it feels like, It's like
All I'm
so
saying is if he just focuses on speed training in the offseason, does his Pilates like he said he's going to do, and then he goes to the
mhm.
Tiki Barber school of changing your ball handling
Yeah.
in one offseason.
Dude,
Like if
I literally
we see
mentioned
him
that.
go back to the Tiki Barber, if we see him go to that, who
Dude, I
cares?
talked about that during this game. I was like, I want to see Tiki Barber holds up here, man. Up here. That's so funny, dude. All right,
What a
man.
deep
I got to
cut.
get rolling to work here, but it's good chatting. Rams season ending against the Philadelphia Eagles. NFC championship games. We won't even give our picks. Or I'll just tell you, I think we get Bills Eagles. That's what I feel.
You think? Yeah, I don't think Commanders can. It's just hard. Like I'm not doubting, but it's just like, yeah, I'm gonna pick the favorite. Oh yeah, I think it's gonna be Eagles, Chiefs, just because it's what I don't want. I don't
Fair
ever
enough.
get what I want. And I think we get a. I'm gonna say we get a three-peat, so I'm just gonna roll with that as of right now.
Honestly, the nickname
Yeah,
Hat Trick Mahomes is top tier, so I'll give it to him.
I just want to hear more Collinsworth. Like, here's a guy.
Yeah. All right, man. Got to get rolling, but looking forward to many more of Tuna and the Sheriff episodes. We'll keep you updated if the timing does need to change, like it did this week. Thanks for hanging, man. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Love seeing you, man. Have a good day.
Always go Rams. Hell yeah.